Hey everyone, welcome to Emmy Stories. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Today's story is raw, emotional, and painfully real. From sacrifice to betrayal, from heartbreak to healing. This is a story that will break you, and then make you think. Let's dive in. The girl in the lobby. The day started like every other day. Nothing special. Chuka was tired. His shirt was damp with sweat, and his back ached from carrying cleaning supplies up and down the hotel corridors. He had come straight from school, hungry and restless, but he didn't complain. He couldn't afford to. He was a student by day and a hotel cleaner by night. That was his life. No support from home. No rich uncle. Just him, struggling. He wore a white shirt that wasn't really white anymore, and black trousers that were too tight around the waist. His shoes made noise when he walked, but he didn't care. He just wanted to make it through the day without collapsing. That evening, something happened. He saw her. She was standing in the lobby, beside the reception desk, holding a nylon bag. Her skin was caramel smooth. Her black braids rested gently on her shoulders. She wore a simple pink top and jeans, nothing expensive, but somehow, she looked like she didn't belong in this kind of place. She was talking to the receptionist. Laughing softly. Smiling like someone who had seen the world and survived it. Chuka didn't mean to stare, but something about her made time slow down. Then it happened, she turned, and their eyes met. She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She smiled. A soft, slow smile. Like she already knew him. Chuka nodded awkwardly and kept walking, his heart strangely unsettled. Later that night, during staff briefing, the supervisor said, "We have a new girl joining the laundry section. Her name is Adura. She go day work night shift with Una." That was her. Adura. Someone whispered, "She fine sha." Another said, "Hope say she go last." Chuka said nothing. He saw her again around 9 p.m. She was standing near the back exit, sipping from a sachet of water. The night was quiet. The generator hummed in the distance. The smell of Omo and bleach filled the air. "You're the guy from earlier, right?" she asked. Her voice was calm. Clear. He turned to her. "Yeah. I'm Chuka." She smiled. "I'm Adura." They shook hands. Her grip was soft but firm. She looked into his eyes, like she was searching for something. "You just start today?" he asked. She nodded. "It's not bad. Better than other places I've worked." "Like where?" She paused, then shrugged. "Just places. This one feels different." They stood there for a few seconds, not talking. The silence didn't feel awkward. "You'll get used to this place," Chuka said. "The walls are dirty, the pay is rubbish, but at least they give us rice on Fridays." She laughed. "That's something, I guess." He laughed too, but inside, he didn't know why he felt so light talking to her. Something was opening. Something quiet. But something dangerous. That night, Chuka didn't sleep well. He kept thinking about her smile. Her eyes. Her calmness. And how, for the first time in a long time, someone saw him. Not the struggling student. Not the cleaner boy. Just him. But he didn't know. He didn't know that the girl who smiled in the lobby would one day break him in ways no one else ever had. And even worse. He would let her. It started with small talks. Nothing serious. Nothing deep. Just jokes here and there. Smiles. Short laughs in between mopping floors and folding towels. But somehow, Chuka found himself looking forward to seeing Adura at work. Sometimes she would tease him when he passed her in the hallway. Other times, she would leave sachets of water on his trolley, saying, "You look dehydrated, Mr. Cleaner." He would smile, and say, "Thank you, Madam Laundry." It was innocent. At least, it felt that way. One Friday night, it rained heavily. The generator was off. Most of the guests had gone to their rooms. Chuka was cleaning out the back corridor that led to the staff steam room, a hot, muggy space used to steam towels and uniforms. He heard footsteps. He turned. It was her. Adura stood there in her black work shirt, her face slightly sweaty from the heat. "You're still working?" she asked. "Yeah," Chuka replied. "You?" She shrugged. "I was bored." He continued wiping the floor, but she didn't leave. Instead, she sat on the edge of the wooden stool near the corner. "You know," she said slowly, "you're the only one here who talks to me without judging." Chuka paused. "Why would I judge you?" She didn't answer immediately. Then, she looked straight at him and said something that froze him. "Before I came here, I used to do runs. I used to be a prostitute." Silence. The sound of dripping water filled the steam room. Chuka stared at her, not knowing what to say. She didn't look ashamed. She looked tired. "I don't do that anymore," she said quickly. "I'm done with that life. I just want something real now. A normal life." Chuka swallowed hard. His chest felt tight. He didn't know what to say. But all he could think was, "She trusted me enough to tell me that." "Thank you for being honest," he finally said. "Does it change anything?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not really." She smiled faintly. "Most guys run when they hear that." He smiled too, but inside, something shifted. Not in a bad way. He felt closer to her now. Like he knew something the others didn't. From that night, everything changed. They started sitting together during lunch. They walked to the bus stop after their shift. Sometimes she would rest her head on his shoulder when they were tired. She would talk about her child, a little girl she left with her aunt in another town. And Chuka listened. He didn't judge. He didn't ask too many questions. Why? Because for the first time in a long time, he felt needed. Seen. Wanted. But he ignored something. A small voice in his head. The way she got angry when her food was delayed. The way she shouted at the new girl who accidentally took her mop. The way she once slammed her phone on the wall just because the screen froze. Red flags. But Chuka told himself, she's just been through a lot. That's why. He excused everything. Because somehow, he had already started falling. One night, while waiting for a bus, she turned to him and said softly, "You're different, Chuka. I don't know what I'd do without you." He smiled. But in his heart, something twisted. He didn't know it yet. But that same girl who sat in the steam room and told him her secrets would be the same girl who would someday hit him, cheat on him, gaslight him, and leave him broken. And he would still stay. He would still love her. Because love, when it's blind, it sees only what it wants to see. It started with small visits. "Can I crash for the night?" Adura had asked one evening after their shift. "The hostel I'm squatting at is just crazy tonight." Chuka didn't think twice. Of course. She stayed. The next night, she stayed again. Then again. And again. Within 2 weeks, Adura had quietly moved into the small, overheated hostel room Chuka shared with his Korzi mate, Samto. Samto didn't complain, not out loud. But he started coming back later. He stopped talking much. He gave Chuka side glances when Adura left her clothes hanging over his bunk or when she used the shared bucket of water without asking. Chuka noticed. But what could he say? He was in love. Or maybe just too deep to back out now. Adura was soft in the mornings. She would rub Chuka's head and say, "You're such a good man." She would make noodles with the last 200 Nigerian nairas they had and insist they eat together. Sometimes, when Chuka got up early for class, she would still be wrapped in his wrapper, looking peaceful, like someone who finally found rest. But that peace never lasted long. By afternoon, something would flip. She'd complain about Samto's toothpaste smelling like chemical. Or accuse Chuka of ignoring her if he didn't reply to her messages fast enough. One time, he was out getting an assignment typed, and she texted, "You left me alone in this stuffy room. You think that's love?" When he tried to explain, she blocked him. Blocked. Then unblocked. Then called crying. Sorry babe. I've been hurt too much. That's why I overreact. But I know you're different. And Chuka believed her. As the weeks passed, things got tighter. There was never enough food. Never enough space. Never enough peace. Adura stopped working at the hotel. She said they were stressing her and she didn't want to go back to that kind of life. So Chuka took on longer shifts. He picked up extra cleaning slots. Sometimes even helped the kitchen staff wash plates, just to earn tips. He began spending his school fees. 5,000 Nigerian nairas here. 10,000 Nigerian nairas there. By the end of the month, his tuition was already halfway gone. But he didn't tell anyone. He didn't even tell his mother, who used to send 2,000 Nigerian nairas whenever she could. He just kept saying, I'm managing. We're managing. One day, his roommate Samto snapped. Bro, this girl is not your wife. Why are you bending yourself to carry her like this? Chuka didn't answer. He just smiled. You don't get it, he said. She's been through a lot. I just want to be there for her. And who's going to be there for you? Samto asked. Silence. One night, Chuka couldn't sleep. Adura was already snoring softly beside him, curled up in his wrapper. He stared at the ceiling, stomach growling, head pounding. He had 300 Nigerian nairas left in his pocket. And still, he didn't want her to leave. The next morning, she woke up late and immediately started yelling. Why didn't you buy water for me before going out? I told you I was going to wash my hair. Chuka opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. He just stood there, looking at her. And in that moment, something shifted inside him. Not enough to leave. But enough to know he wasn't okay. That week, Chuka missed 2 classes. His lecturer called him out. He laughed it off. Inside, he was drowning. But to the world, they were the perfect campus couple. They weren't. And he knew it. But sometimes, when she looked at him and said, You're the only person I trust, he would forget all of it. He would smile. And hold on. It was 2:37 a.m. when Chuka turned again on the narrow mattress, his back sticking to the wrapper beneath him. The heat wasn't from the weather, it was from a mix of stress, hunger, and confusion that had settled in his body like cement. Adura's body pressed against his side, wrapped tightly in the only clean wrapper he had left. She was fast asleep, breathing softly, her arm flung across his chest like she owned him. She snored in tiny, sharp bursts, the kind of sound that used to make him laugh. Now it only irritated him. His stomach let out another growl. Loud. Painful. He placed his hand on it. There was nothing to eat. Not even Gary. Not even salt. And yet. Adura was here. Comfortable. Warm. Asleep. Flashback to earlier that day. Chuka had come back from lectures late, exhausted from walking under the sun. His phone was flooded with messages from his group assignment members who were angry he hadn't submitted his part yet. But how could he focus? He had spent the entire afternoon begging the kitchen staff at the hotel to give him leftover rice so he could take it home for dinner, something for him and Adura. She had texted him earlier. I'm hungry. Hope you're not coming back with empty hand again, oh. Then a laughing emoji. Then. Chuka, don't vex me today, I beg. He didn't reply. He couldn't. What would he say? I'm trying. Be patient. She didn't want patience. She wanted food. When he got home with a plastic container full of plain jollof and 1 fried plantain he begged for, Adura had just taken her bath. Her towel was wrapped loosely around her chest, and her skin glistened from the moisture. She looked at the food like it was beneath her. This is what you brought. Chuka dropped the food without answering. He removed his shirt, slumped on the bed, and tried to steady his breath. You know I haven't eaten since morning, right? She continued, opening the container. He nodded. Adura pulled out the plantain and bit into it. So you brought 1 plantain. For 2 of us. Chuka turned away. She ate in silence. Every bite was like a knife. He tried not to cry. Back in the present. On the bed, still wide awake, Chuka blinked at the cracked ceiling of the small hostel room. He could hear the buzz of mosquitoes and the occasional drip of water from the leaking pipe near the window. His thoughts raced. What am I doing? How did I get here? Is this love? The most painful part wasn't the hunger. It was that somewhere deep in his chest, he still felt something for Adura. Even after everything. Even after how she talked to him in front of Samto. 2 days earlier, a public humiliation. It happened in the shared hostel kitchen. Chuka had forgotten to buy matches, and Adura was trying to boil water. Chuka. You know, even get ordinary matchstick, she shouted. Sorry. I go buy 'em now, he mumbled, avoiding eye contact with the other students around. Mchu. Useless. Not only big mouth you get. Can't even provide basic thing. And I left my comfort to stay here. The word useless echoed in the room. Samto was standing at the sink, frozen, a sponge in his hand. He glanced at Chuka, then looked away. The silence in the room felt like judgment. Chuka left immediately and walked to the nearest kiosk, even though he had only 50 naira left. Midweek. He tried to talk to Adura. Really talk. She was lying down, scrolling through her phone, her face bathed in blue light. Can we talk? He asked, standing near the table. She looked up briefly. About what? Us. She snorted. What about us? Chuka took a deep breath. Adura, you don't respect me anymore. And I don't even feel like your boyfriend. I feel like. Like what? She cut in, sitting up. Like the fool who begged me to stay with him. Who knew my past and still took me in. What exactly are you saying, Chuka? He stood there, stunned. Because if you want to chase me out, she continued, just say it. No need to sugarcoat. I never said that, he said quietly. Then don't come and talk nonsense. She lay back down, turned her back to him, and resumed scrolling. That night, Chuka couldn't sleep again. Samto's growing concern. One afternoon, Samto returned from class and found Chuka sitting on the floor, staring at a blank notebook. The room was quiet except for the sound of a distant generator. Guy, Samto called. You day all right? Chuka looked up and gave a weak smile. You sure say you never enter depression? Chuka chuckled dryly. If I tell you say I never think of dropping out, I go day lie. Samto sat beside him. You've changed, bro. You day always try for people. But this girl, she's draining you. You day carry the whole relationship on top your head like gala. Chuka wiped his face. Guy, make you no vex, Samto added. But if na me, I no fit. Chuka didn't respond. But his heart was already torn. Because deep down, he knew Samto was right. Another betrayal. The next Sunday morning, while Adura was taking a shower, Chuka's phone lit up. She had forgotten to lock hers. And as much as he wanted to respect her privacy, something pushed him. He opened her WhatsApp. There were messages from a contact saved as Mr. X. Late night texts. Voice notes. Flirty chats. You know I miss that thing you did to me last time. I wish I was in your bed RN. That boy you're staying with, he sabi nothing. Chuka's fingers trembled. He dropped the phone, walked to the window, and covered his mouth with his hand. He felt like vomiting. Minutes later, she came out of the bathroom, towel on her chest. You look weird, she said. Chuka turned around. Who is Mr. X? Her eyes narrowed. You went through my phone. Who is he? She didn't answer. He repeated, Adura, who is he? Silence. Then. You're not even man enough to satisfy me, Chuka. What do you expect? The room froze. Chuka felt his knees weaken. You know what, she added coldly. If you can't handle a woman like me, then just say it. Don't come and be forming moral compass. He wanted to scream. Break something. Collapse. But he just sat down. And said nothing. That night, he slept on the floor. Not because she told him to. But because he couldn't bear to lie beside her. She didn't apologize. She didn't explain. She just scrolled through her phone, laughed at random memes, and then fell asleep. Chuka stared at the ceiling again. Same spot. Same hunger. Same headache. But now, with heartbreak added to the mix. He whispered to himself, is this what love is supposed to feel like? But there was no answer. Only the soft sound of Adura's snore. And the ache of silence. The morning after the betrayal. Chuka didn't speak to Adura all morning. He didn't even look at her. She, on the other hand, acted like nothing happened. She wore his cleanest t-shirt and styled her hair in front of the cracked mirror. She even hummed a tune as she rubbed cream into her legs. Are you not going to class today? She asked casually. Chuka didn't answer. He sat on the corner of the bed, knees apart, elbows resting on his thighs, phone in his hands, screen blank. Silent treatment. Grow up, I beg. And that was it. She left. No apology. No explanation. Not even guilt. Chuka remained there, frozen in that same position for over 30 minutes. His mind ran wild. Not just about Mr. X or the cheating, but about himself. Why was he still here? Why was he still letting her stay? Did he even have enough self-worth left? Later that afternoon, hostel common area. He sat outside the hostel block, eyes hidden behind a baseball cap. Other students walked past, laughing, chatting, eating noodles from transparent bowls. A few nodded at him, he nodded back. Then came Samto, holding 2 sachets of pure water and a steaming bowl of EBA. Eat, Samto said, offering the plate. I'm not hungry. Lie. You never chop since yesterday. Chuka shook his head. I can't take your food again. You've done enough. Samto squatted beside him and lowered his voice. Chuka, guy to guy, you need to free this girl. Chuka said nothing. I've been watching. She's draining your energy. She no day respect you. Always shouting. Always insulting. And now she's even sleeping with other guys. Chuka looked down. Samto leaned in. Brothers, this one no be love again. This one not punishment. Chuka wanted to cry. But he held it in. He took the bowl slowly. Thanks. Midweek, the final straw, or so he thought. That evening, Chuka returned to the room and found Adura laughing on a WhatsApp call. The door was wide open. She was lying on the bed, legs raised, and didn't even flinch when he entered. No, Jor, she said, giggling into the phone. You're too wild. Me, I can't keep up with your madness. Oh, wait, he just walked in. She looked at Chuka and smiled sarcastically. Yes, it's that one I told you about, the hotel boy. Chuka paused. His ears rang. Hotel boy. Adura ended the call and tossed the phone aside. Why are you looking at me like that? It's not like you're my husband. That night, he didn't speak a single word. He walked to the back of the hostel block, sat on the concrete, and stared at the sky until the moon climbed high and everyone else had gone to bed. Flashback, how it all started. Chuka's mind drifted back to the beginning. To when Adura first visited. It started so simple. She came to crash for the night, saying her hostel was full. Then one night turned to 3. Then she brought her clothes. Then her charger. Then her hair cream. She said she didn't feel safe in her hostel. And Chuka, ever the helper, said yes. Of course. Then she asked him to buy groceries. Then she started leaving dirty plates. Then came the control. She changed the position of his books on the table. She'd say, this bed frame is noisy. Buy another one. She even started deciding what Chuka should wear on some days, as if he was a child. He mistook it all for love. But now, sitting here months later, with his tuition money almost gone, his grades slipping, and his self-esteem cracked, he wondered what exactly he had gotten himself into. A friend tried to intervene. The next morning, he was in front of the faculty building when Amarachi, his class rep, stopped him. Chuka, can we talk? She had always been kind. Helpful. And she had noticed his decline. Sure, he said, though his voice was low. They stepped aside. I'm not trying to poke into your business, she began carefully, but you've changed. You used to be this cheerful guy. Always early. Always prepared. Now you're moody. Quiet. You miss deadlines. He didn't respond. She leaned closer. Is it the girl you're staying with? Adura. He flinched slightly. I've heard things, she continued. People talk. And I've seen her shout at you in public. You don't deserve that, Chuka. He nodded, eyes burning. I know. Amarachi placed a hand gently on his shoulder. Please take care of yourself. That was the first warmth he had felt in weeks. Friday night, breakdown. That night, it rained heavily. The roof leaked slightly and Adura had used Chuka's only clean towel to block the drip near the corner. She was upset. This hostel is nonsense. I don't know why I even followed you here. He was too tired to respond. She continued ranting. Tomorrow, we're going to the market. You'll buy yam, egg, spaghetti, and oil. That woman I texted sent me a recipe I want to try. He blinked slowly. But I don't have money. You better find. Or borrow. Silence. Then, like a dam breaking, Chuka snapped. I am not your husband, Adura. I am not your father. I am not your ATM. She turned sharply. Oh, you finally found your voice, she sneered. Let me clap for you. I'm serious, he said, standing. You've used me, insulted me, cheated on me, and I still fed you. I gave you my bed. My clothes. My school fees. She walked toward him. And I never begged you for any of that. You offered. So don't turn around and act like a victim. His chest heaved. You said you loved me. She laughed. I loved the idea of you. Until I saw the reality. That broke something in him. He sat down and covered his face. And for the first time in a long time, he cried. Right there. In front of her. Not just small tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs. She stood there, arms folded. Unmoved. Then turned off the light and went to bed. Morning after, a decision starts to form. By morning, she was gone. Left to visit a friend across town. Chuka looked around the room. Half of the clothes were hers. Half of the foodstuff, bought with his own money, was hers. The pain was deep, but something inside had started to shift. Maybe it's time to let go. But letting go is hard when you've already tied your identity to someone else's presence. So he stayed. For now. Chuka sat by the window that afternoon, watching as people passed below. Samto came in quietly, dropped a bag of gari on the table. Thanks, Chuka said. Samto paused. You good? Chuka nodded. I day try. The room was quiet, peaceful, for once. But in the pit of his stomach, he knew, something had to change. Soon. Because if it didn't, he wouldn't recognize himself anymore. Chuka had stopped asking questions. He simply existed. Wake, work, class, bed. Nothing in his heart moved. Adura, still occupying the room like she owned it, barely noticed. That evening, as he folded his uniform on the chair, his phone buzzed. It was Amarachi. There's something I've been keeping from you. I didn't want to say anything before. But it's about Adura. Before he could type a reply, the door creaked. Adura entered, smelling of expensive perfume. New earrings dangled from her ears. She didn't say a word. Just laughed at something on her phone and dropped a fast food bag on the table. Later that night, Samto knocked. Bro. I didn't want to say anything, but I saw her. Chuka looked up. She was talking to one man in a black car. Behind Hostel Block C. They hugged. Not normal hug. Long one. The silence was louder than the knock. Chuka sat by the window. His stomach turned. Maybe Amarachi knew what Samto saw. Maybe he was the only one still in the dark. The next day, Adura came home with new braids, glossy lips, and a brand new phone case she couldn't stop flaunting. She smelled of strawberries and designer lies. She laughed more than usual, danced in front of the mirror, and posted videos on her WhatsApp status, captioned, "Soft life only. No stress zone." Chuka barely looked up from his bed. "You like my hair?" she asked, posing dramatically. Chuka nodded faintly. "You're acting weird," she scoffed, scrolling through her phone. "I'm going to shower." The bathroom door closed. Chuka sat up. He turned and stared at the new food tray on the desk, one of those expensive combo packs from a restaurant. He hadn't eaten all day. He knew Adura didn't buy it with her own money. When she came out wearing just his shirt again, steam clinging to her skin, he finally asked, "Who gave you the food?" Adura's eyes danced, amused. "A friend." "What kind of friend?" She smiled. "You ask too many questions." Chuka swallowed. The air felt thick. "Are you sleeping with someone else?" Adura rolled her eyes. "You're insecure." "That's not a no." She turned her back to him. "Believe whatever makes you sleep better." That night, Chuka didn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't because of heartbreak, it was because of planning. Chuka barely touched his Gary that morning. Adura sat on the bed, scrolling through her phone, legs crossed like nothing had happened. Her towel lay forgotten on the floor. She was now wearing his black polo. The silence between them wasn't quiet. It was loud. Chuka stood by the window, arms folded. His head throbbed. "What do you even want from me?" he finally asked, not turning around. Adura sighed. "You're being dramatic." "I just want to know the truth." She didn't answer. Moments later, her phone buzzed. She smiled, tapped quickly, and stood. "I'm going out," she said. "Who with?" She smirked. "Someone who actually takes me out." Before he could reply, she was gone. The perfume hung in the air longer than she did. Chuka sat down slowly. His hands trembled, but not from sadness. It was rage now. Cold, slow-burning rage. A knock came. It was Samto, again. This time with a chilled bottle of water. "You day okay?" he asked, sitting beside him. Chuka nodded slowly. "Not yet. But soon." That night, Chuka packed all her clothes into a nylon bag and dropped it by the door. He didn't say a word when she returned. And neither did she, until she saw the bag. Her voice dropped. "So this is it?" Chuka didn't blink. "Yeah." Adura scoffed. "You think you'll survive without me?" He looked her straight in the eye. "No. But I think I'll finally breathe." The room felt different without her. No perfume. No laughter. No phone light flickering at 2 a.m. No legs stealing his blanket. No humming while scrolling TikTok. Just silence. Chuka sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the nylon bag he still hadn't thrown out. Part of him wanted to open it. Smell her scarf. Touch her hairbrush. But he didn't. Samto walked in, placed 2 Gala and a bottle of Sprite on the table. "You're healing," he said simply. Chuka didn't answer. Later that night, while lying flat on his back, Chuka unlocked his phone and opened WhatsApp. Her profile picture was gone. No status. No trace. He opened the chat and scrolled. Voice notes. Laughs. Screenshots. Memes. Baby play that voice note again, weary face with tears of joy. His fingers hovered over the delete button. Then pressed it. Everything vanished. For the first time in weeks, he slept. The next morning, Chuka woke up and made his bed. He swept. He folded his shirts properly. He cleaned the desk. When Samto walked in and saw the room, he froze. "You won't die," he joked. Chuka smiled for the first time in days. Later, as he walked out of the hostel gates, he saw her. Adura. Across the road, wearing a new wig and laughing with 2 girls. Her head turned. Their eyes met. She smirked. looked him up and down. Chuka didn't stop walking. And this time, he didn't look back. Chuka's body moved, but his mind stayed in that moment, Adura across the road, laughing like nothing had ever happened between them. That smirk. That dismissive look. It chewed at him all night. The next morning, the hostel buzzed with life, but Chuka sat still, watching the room like a stranger. Samto had gone out early, and the silence gave space for everything he was trying to suppress. He picked up his phone. Messages unread. No sign of her. By noon, he stood at the campus kiosk, staring blankly at a bottle of water in his hand. His stomach growled, but he couldn't bring himself to eat. The woman selling asked if he was okay. He nodded, forced a smile, walked away. He wandered around campus, hoping for, what? A coincidence? Another sighting? An apology? Instead, he saw her again. This time with a guy. Tall, dark-skinned, muscular. Adura leaned on him, giggling at something he said. Chuka's chest tightened like a rope was being pulled around it. He didn't approach. He couldn't. He just stood still, watching from across the basketball court fence. She never even looked his way. As if he was invisible now. As if he'd never existed. That night, he didn't cry. Not like before. But his pillow stayed wet. This pain was different. It wasn't loud. It was a quiet, constant ache. A dull roar in his chest. He deleted her number again. Blocked her account again. But still, he checked if she posted. Still, he watched her story from a burner account. And when Samto came back and asked if he wanted to talk, Chuka shook his head. He was tired of talking. He just wanted peace. And peace, it seemed, had moved far away. Chuka told himself he was fine. He woke up early, ironed his shirt, polished his shoes. He nodded when Samto cracked jokes. He even smiled when people greeted him on campus. But none of it reached his chest. Everything felt like acting. He avoided places where he might see her, the hostel gates, the canteen, the short path by the faculty building. But somehow, his mind always went where his legs refused to. Where is she now? Did she laugh with him like this? Did she ever really love me? At night, he'd sit on the wooden chair beside the bed, staring at the fan blades spinning above. The ache wasn't like before. It wasn't burning anymore. Just, heavy. Like a wet cloth tied around his heart. That Thursday evening, while walking back from the library, he bumped into Sarah, Adura's roommate. She gave him a small, awkward smile. "How you day, Chuka?" "I day," he answered too quickly. She hesitated. "She asked about you, you know." He didn't respond. Just blinked. Then laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was easier than crying in front of someone who still smelled like her perfume. That night, he opened his notes app and typed. "If I can just get through this week, maybe I'll stop thinking about her next week." A lie. He deleted it. Shut off his phone. And lay flat on his back with the fan blowing stale air on his face. Samto stirred beside him but didn't say anything. He knew this kind of silence. The kind where there are no right words, just presence. And sometimes, presence is the only thing keeping a man from falling apart completely. But when he saw Adura again, arms looped around that same tall guy outside the lecture hall, something inside him snapped. She wore a yellow crop top and high-waisted jeans. Her braids bounced as she laughed at something the guy whispered in her ear. And he looked so comfortable, like he belonged there. Like she was his. But Chuka saw her first. He saw her when her makeup smudged after a long shift. When her stomach growled but she said she wasn't hungry. When she laughed at memes on his phone and wiped her eyes during that movie scene. He saw her, before the new version of her emerged. The one that smiled for someone else now. Jealousy didn't make him brave. It made him reckless. Later that day, he told Samto, "That guy. He's not even her type." Samto gave a short laugh. "How you go know her type pass her?" "I just know. She's pretending. Trying to feel something that's not real." Samto didn't argue. just nodded slowly, as if understanding the weight behind the words. That night, Chuka stared at an old photo, her asleep, lips slightly parted, hand tucked under her cheek. He remembered taking it quietly, not to post or share, just to remember. Now he wanted to delete it. He didn't. Instead, he stared at it for a long time. Then turned off his phone, placed its screen down on the floor, and curled into the blanket, arms tucked around his chest. And for the first time in weeks, he whispered something. "I saw you first." Chuka stopped arguing with himself. He used to fight the thoughts. She'll come back. She didn't mean it. Maybe she's confused. Now. He didn't even hope anymore. He just endured. Each day stretched like chewing gum, slow, tasteless, exhausting. He still attended classes, still bathed, still replied, "I'm good," when people asked. But inside, he wasn't good. Inside, something was dying. One evening, Samto found him sitting on the floor beside the bed, knees tucked in, staring blankly at a pair of slippers. "Guy, you day all right?" Chuka didn't look up. "She made me feel seen," he said quietly. "Like I wasn't just another guy in the crowd." Samto didn't say anything. Just sat on the floor beside him. Chuka shook his head slowly. "You know the worst part? I saw the signs. I felt it slipping. But I still stayed. I still gave everything. I didn't know when to stop." His voice cracked on the last word. He blinked, fast. "People think it's weak to cry over a girl," he added. "But when you give someone your peace, your future, your heartbeat, and they walk away like it was never enough." A tear rolled down his cheek. "It breaks you." Later that night, Chuka lay in bed staring at the ceiling, eyes open but hollow. His body was tired, but his mind wouldn't stop screaming. "You should have walked away sooner." But the truth was, he never learned how to walk away. Chuka didn't plan to talk to her. He was walking past the cafeteria when he saw them, Adura and her new men, seated under the tree, sharing a plate of rice, laughing. That laugh. It used to belong to him. Before he could stop himself, his feet were already changing direction. Adura looked up, surprised. She hadn't seen him this close in weeks. "Chuka." He didn't smile. Didn't blink. "So this is it, huh?" Her brows pulled together. "What are you talking about?" He glanced at the guy, then back at her. "You moved on quick." Adura stood up slowly. "You said we were done." "No. You said you needed time. You said you were confused." His voice rose. "You didn't say you were replacing me." People were watching now. Her guy stood up but didn't speak, just stayed close behind her. Adura folded her arms. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I hate pretending I'm okay," he shouted. "I hate acting like you didn't rip something out of me and hand it to someone else like it meant nothing." She opened her mouth, but he kept going. "I gave you everything, Adura. My time. My school fees. My peace. You drained me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I hope he breaks your heart too," Chuka whispered. "So you finally understand what you did to me." Then he walked away, chest heaving, hands shaking. He didn't care who was watching. He didn't care if she cried. Because finally, he said it. The anger was gone now. In its place, silence. A heavy kind of silence that filled every crack in his life. Classes blurred. Food had no taste. Sleep came in fragments. Samto noticed, but didn't push. He just started leaving water and biscuits on the desk before leaving each morning. One evening, Chuka stood in front of the bathroom mirror, toothbrush in hand, but not brushing. Just staring. At the dullness in his eyes. The slump in his shoulders. The ghost of who he used to be. If I disappeared, would anyone notice? He didn't want to die. Not exactly. But he didn't want to exist like this either. Not in this version of the world where she laughed with someone else. Where his love felt like a waste. He deleted the burner account. Deleted her pictures. Even changed her name in his mind to the girl I used to know. But still, her voice echoed. The memory of how she used to say his name. The feel of her head on his chest. The softness of those quiet, late-night talks. He started skipping classes. When Santo asked what was going on, Chuka replied, "Nothing. I'm just tired." Santo nodded, but his eyes didn't believe it. That night, Chuka typed a message. "If I disappeared, would you notice?" He stared at it for a long time. Then he deleted it. And turned off his phone. And laid on the floor beside the bed, not because there wasn't space on it, but because he didn't feel like he deserved comfort. It rained that morning. Slow, steady rain, not violent, not loud. Just enough to blur the windows and drown the world in gray. Chuka didn't get up from the floor. He just lay there, the blanket pulled halfway over him, phone face down beside his head. His body ached, not from sickness, from heaviness. From giving up. Santo tried talking to him. At first. But words felt useless in that room now. Chuka only nodded. Or shook his head. That was it. Later that evening, Chuka stepped out alone, under the drizzle. The world looked softer in the rain, as if everything could be forgiven. Or forgotten. He walked aimlessly through campus, slippers soaked, clothes clinging to his skin. He passed the cafeteria. There she was. Adura. Laughing. Not even looking around to check if someone was watching. Her Newman held an umbrella above her head. She leaned in and kissed his cheek. Chuka froze. His legs felt hollow. His chest, like someone had scooped it out. He turned away quickly. He didn't cry. But something broke inside. Something quiet. That night, he returned to the room, soaked. Santo looked up from the desk, worried. But Chuka only smiled faintly, like someone saying goodbye without using words. He laid down again, on the floor. Picked up his phone. Typed one last message. "I hope you're happy. That's all I ever wanted." He didn't send it. He deleted it. And just stared at the blinking cursor until the screen dimmed out. The last scene fades on Chuka's face, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Not crying. Not moving. Just silent. Sometimes, pain doesn't scream. It just lingers, quietly, like breath. Like memory. Life is full of choices, some heal us, some break us, but every story holds a lesson. If this one touched you, opened your eyes, or made you feel something real, then stay with us because here on Emmy Stories, the journey never ends. More stories are coming deeper, bolder and unforgettable. If you love this video, please subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss the next one. Thank you for watching.